meantime, Brittany, what's the big news?
Well, there's a lot of news these days, but I would say my most exciting announcement is that last week with DNA on our cap table, we launched a new treasury company, Alpha Ton Capital, NASDAQ, ATON, ATON. We are a ton treasury company that invests across the Telegram ecosystem in gaming, DeFi, even healthcare, any applications that are revenue producing in Telegram we are investing in. So we're very excited. We've only been public for, well, now less than a week. I'm CEO, and we announced already a few different companies that we are acquiring over the past couple days. So we've had some huge announcements here at TOKEN2049 that are mostly focused on, DeFi gaming and healthcare. Huge applications, including our announcement yesterday about Gamey, which is the largest gaming application in Telegram, and they're an Animoca brand subsidiary, also one of our biggest investors like DNA, and they have tens of millions of users. They launched with Telegram in 2015, and we are so excited to not just be acquiring a majority stake in the company, but also a majority of their 2 different token treasuries for their play to earn tokens. So we're so excited about that. That's an announcement. The biggest announcement I have of the day, but we can go back quite a few years, I think.
Yeah, and can you walk us through your journey, what you've gone through in the industry to become the CEO, the successes, both the failures, and how you've overcome those hardships?
Yeah, of course. So this is actually my 3rd company that I've taken public on NASDAQ, and the first one was about 5 years ago. It was a biotech company, and everyone thought I was crazy when I said that we should have a crypto treasury. This was a psychedelics company, so it was combining 2 industries that had a lot of regulatory pressure. But we raised the money in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I got it passed by the board that we would hold those in our treasury instead of selling them for US dollars for operational capital. And I had to fight really, really hard to keep that. And then, of course, as soon as we had the next bear market, all of our shareholders started to go crazy, and they're like, sell that Bitcoin and Ethereum, get rid of our digital asset treasury. And I was like, no, like this is
Hodl.
this is so important. Like you guys don't understand, but they made me get rid of it. And then as the industry came back up and the Bitcoin price started to rise, they all felt very bad about it, and they let me reinstate it. So company number 2 that I took public on NASDAQ, Griffin Digital Mining. I was co-founder and executive chairman, one of the world's largest Bitcoin mining companies. It was NASDAQ GRIP. It is now today American Bitcoin, NASDAQ ABTC.
Trump.
So, proud to say that Eric Trump took my job and acquired our company to build what is now, I think, the top 3 largest Bitcoin mining company. It was we were acquired by Hut 8 and the Trump family's investment company, Dominion. So that was very exciting, and we only completed our merger a couple weeks ago. So I felt like building a massive Bitcoin company that I had already kind of done the Bitcoin treasury company, Bitcoin miner, operational Bitcoin producing business, revenue producing Bitcoin business, plus a Bitcoin treasury. And so I thought, well, besides Bitcoin, what is the most exciting opportunity in crypto? And for me, and I think for most people, we always say, what's the most exciting opportunity? To get 1 billion plus users, to be able to really say that we have mass adoption. And so what's the only crypto application in the world that has 1 billion plus users? Telegram.
Raise your hand if you have Telegram in this room. Everybody in the bar, everybody at the conference, all 100,000 people that are here in Singapore or more, everybody around the world, the first thing they ask you for is your Telegram. And then they walk away from you after you scan your QR code. So we're all, a little introverted. We're trying to be extroverted. Telegram has helped us do that. And I can't find a better application to do that with.
Yeah, for me, it's very exciting. I mean, I've been using Telegram for probably at least 11 years. I think most people in this industry spend quite a lot of time on Telegram, not just for messaging, but for using various mini apps or trading bots. So everyone's super familiar. There's over 1 billion monthly active users, and most of those billion monthly active users are daily active. So the opportunity is that now Telegram has vertically integrated blockchain technology. And so all of those 1 billion users have the opportunity to actually use decentralized applications and use crypto in an app that they already have installed on their phone for messaging. Telegram is in the top 5 most used apps in the world. The first 2 are Meta products, which I wouldn't recommend. And the other are TikTok and WeChat, which again is a certain type of audience.
Shots fired.
And then there's Telegram, with a founder that actually cares about you owning your data and owning all of your digital assets in his platform, where now you own everything from your Telegram handle on chain to the in-app assets to gifts and stickers. So the ability for you to own all of your digital assets in a social media platform is something that I've been preaching about for 10 years, that someone should do it. I was completely against Meta's, well, I guess then Facebook's Libra proposal. I think the regulators were absolutely right to say no to them. But when Telegram proposed to do Gram in 2019 and raise $1.7 billion for the biggest ICO in the world, the US SEC said no. And so they had to shut down the Gram token project. They paid the SEC, paid their dues. And then the TON Foundation pops up and starts building the TON project. And TON token was released in 2021. And since then has had various sales and growth, and recently reached 146 million users. That is 50% bigger than Coinbase, which is huge. They have about 100 million users. So the opportunity for TON and its vertical integration through Telegram, that's nearly a 10x opportunity for it just to integrate to all of Telegram's users, let alone all of the trading and DeFi and applications that function outside of Telegram.
And now that the regulations caught up and the tech is caught up, how do you see DeFi, with AI agents mixing in with your treasury management and the corporation?
Well, actually, you're the expert on this topic, Logan. So maybe you should answer that question.
Your perspective. I mean, I know how to do the tech, but from the business side, do you think that large-scale corporations, publicly traded companies, are ready to collaborate with AI agents?
Absolutely. And I think DeFi is going to be one of our top 3 concentrations in our company. As I said, we're investing in DeFi, gaming, and other business applications. Obviously, there's a lot of multinational corporations and even governments that are running all of their communications on Telegram because of the data protection features, because Pavel doesn't sell your data to companies, because Pavel refuses to give your data to governments, and therefore sometimes puts himself into situations where he's protecting his users over his own sovereignty. And so I think the opportunity for DeFi is that as a public company, I know I can use Telegram in a safe way where my data is safe, and that's one of the most important things to think about as a public company. And I have a massive treasury now of TON. We're one of the largest holders of TON in the world. But we now, as of yesterday's announcement, are starting to acquire other TON tokens. So Gamey, the largest gaming application that we're investing in, has 2 different tokens that are both on TON. And we have quite a few other announcements that are coming up over the coming days, where we will have a basket of different TON-related assets. So DeFi, as one of our top investment concentrations, is going to be a huge part of our growing business. It's also probably one of the biggest revenue production opportunities to think about the growth of the size of some of our token communities that are not just TON itself, but built on TON. So integrating different DeFi opportunities into our treasury, from liquid staking to integration across DEXs, thinking about different ways to grow our token communities, not just in app, but throughout the DeFi space, is incredibly exciting. And it's something that not too many public companies have done.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that as we grow as an industry, as you grow in your company, it's going to be really important to know, where the line is on the collaboration. And I want to shift gears here into kind of like a family and leadership. I've known your family for many years, and seeing like your family grow and hopefully grow into an even larger family. I want to ask you, as a male in tech, what is it like being a woman in a leadership position in tech, and how do you balance your leadership with your family? And do you see yourself, potentially using AI agents to kind of bridge the gap between, what you've been, what legacy CEOs have been expected to do, and now what you can do today in 2025?
Well, actually, I think over the past year, I have used AI to greatly improve my life, where actually a lot of the things that would take me a lot longer to do before, I can now do so much faster. So I actually have more time for my family. And I think that's one of the greatest opportunities of integrating AI into companies, is that one, you can get more done with less people. So you don't have to spend time managing as many people. And also things that you would usually need to do yourself, have automated assistants that can work 24/7. And so you just make more space for your own life, which means it improves your physical and mental health. It improves the amount of time you have for your family. And therefore, when you are working, you're working much better and much more efficiently in a much more powerful way. So I think that's traditionally end up being a harder thing for women to do, especially, moms like me. But that's why I think integrating as many new technologies that can speed up my business and therefore give me more time for some of the other important things in life besides building crypto companies, the more I can do of that, the better.
Yeah, no, I'm starting to build my family and using AI. I definitely went from being I'm a coder, a techie all the time, to now becoming more of a person and spending time with my family because of AI. And, especially when it comes to ensuring like the legacy and, the wealth that you've preserved over the years, do you find that there's like an approach to family inheritance that you can bring into not only your corporation, but your own way of doing business? And is there any context in digital assets that you can give perspective on?
Yeah, of course. Well, this is something that both you and me have been working on for many years, which is the tokenization of assets that normally wouldn't have any liquidity, assets that generally become sometimes more of a financial burden than an opportunity, like large pieces of real estate, and the ability to actually unlock that liquidity so it becomes less of a burden on your family, and an easier on-chain automated way to create inheritance that self-executes automatically when you allow it to, which can also be done in tax-efficient jurisdictions, especially for a lot of big estates in Europe, for example. Having your ownership within some of those countries, and very complex and expensive inheritance laws that allows you to hold the assets actually technically somewhere else because they're tokenized and the rights are held somewhere else. So I think that's a huge, huge, huge opportunity. And those are some of the applications that we're looking at growing inside of Telegram, where you can manage more of your physical assets using digital assets. And I know that's something you've been working on for a while too. So maybe you can touch on that.
Yeah, building into the multi-generational wealth machines, everybody says this kind of term, and ensuring that whether you have a family, kids, your brother, your mom, whoever you want to leave your Bitcoin or your RWAs to, we built things at DeFi tools that can be used to, bridge that gap. But, it's everybody is like, where's the trust at? And, the platform that we've built is a front end on verified contracts that are the DeFi.gg contracts in those libraries. You're able to fork those, they've been audited, and then build your own system. If you don't like the system we built called Air that allows you to do all these things, you can take what we've made, provide it to you, and build it yourself. But I think, again, it goes back to trust and the long-term initiation of trust. The deployment of our contracts that we have to maintain, and we have to make sure, has enough gas on Solana, has enough uptime on EVM. It leans into these digital asset treasury companies. How do people and public shareholder owners know that this business is going to last that long so that they can continue to rely on those dividends?
Yeah, well, I think one of the very exciting things about the past two digital asset treasury companies that I've launched are that we're not just relying on holding tokens. We also have operational other revenue producing businesses that create this interesting flywheel, because when you buy a treasury and you are, staking and validating it, or even engaging in different DeFi activities, that creates a revenue stream, which you can use to invest in your operational business. And as your operational business begins to produce more revenue, you report those revenues, you get a bump in share price, you get more trading volume, and then you can reinvest and buy more in the treasury. So they each support each other in an incredible way, where digital asset treasury companies that just have the digital assets are not able to create that same kind of flywheel within the business. And so the longevity of these, especially from a regulatory perspective, is going to be that you really need revenue producing operational companies in addition to a treasury, where the treasury just helps shore up the balance sheet, but the treasury isn't the business. So I think that's really, really important for people to think about, both from an investment perspective, as well as probably plenty of people in this room that might be involved in digital asset treasuries in management, executive, board positions. So when you think about not wanting to fall under the Investment Company Act, not wanting to have to get commodities trading licenses, to not become a PFIC, like these are all things that I think a lot of DATs are not really paying attention to. But because I spent the first half of my career in law school and as a practicing law, I think that these are things I think about just as much as the revenue production of my business model. And my lawyer just walked in the room. Love
Hey,
it.
welcome, Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Shout out.
Never leave home without your lawyer. Anyway.
We also have our other guest who is to be here, Trevor Kaverko, formerly of Polymath, I think still a Polymath, now of Sapien. Do we want to bring him up and grill him on the future of AI and data for humanization?
Would you like to say a few words, Trevor?
Let's give a round of applause. Trevor Kaverko, everybody. How you doing?
How are you doing? How you doing?
Taking notes in the back.
I love it. Hello.
Yeah. So,
Hello.
you want to give a brief history of you?
Yeah. Good to see you guys.
Pretty long time.
Yeah, no, I'm from the early Ethereum scene in Toronto, and then I was lucky twice, being from Toronto and then having Ethereum launch out of Toronto. And from there, I kind of got down the rabbit hole, and I started my own project called Polymath in 2017. It was one of the first RWA purpose-built networks. We're actually in the middle of a go public transaction now, so it's been a long time from ups and downs and having being early to something, but we always had that kind of inevitable feel to the tokenization of everything. We kind of saw like the Moore's law of tokenization, where every 2 years there's like a new category that's getting tokenized. It started with just Bitcoin and Ethereum as protocols, the first things ever to be tokenized. And then like one day you wake up and cash is tokenized, Tether. And then one day you wake up and like digital art is tokenized, NFTs. And it's just more and more and more things, to the point now where like there's tokenized gold, there's tokenized commodities, there's securities.
And Trevor would stand on stage and be like, the stampede is coming. We're like, what are you talking about? What's he talking about? And it was right. He was absolutely right. His whole team was right. And
the boy who cried wolf for many years.
I mean, it all worked out, and I think we're all better for it. And I mean, what do you see today as the vision of the future? I know that you just launched Sapien at a very high market cap. Congratulations. It seems like you've gone in the right direction, and that we can do something quite substantial together once we have DeFi.
Yeah, like the story now is just TradFi is coming and is here, and it changes everything. You're saying, like, it's just wild for people like us, and Brittany's done an amazing job with these public companies. Like, I remember I'm from Canada, where it was the only place you could actually take a company public. Like, literally, we took the first ever public blockchain company public in 2017 called Hive. It was an Ethereum miner. And it's not because Canada was the best public market or capital market in the world. It was because it was the only kind of tier one market that allowed this to happen. And then suddenly we wake up like how many months ago, and the US, which is the big player globally, is open for business. And it really, in my view, changed the whole dynamic and the whole posture of the whole industry when literally any token can now be live within a wrapper of a public vehicle. And I think it's super exciting.
Yeah, it seems as if the positioning of a certain family really amplified our ability to do business in our sector and industry. And do you want to mention more your relation? You said American Bitcoin, the ability to kind of bridge the gap there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I took my first company public on NASDAQ about 5 years ago, I think there were only two NASDAQ listed crypto companies, Marathon and Riot, and Hut 8. Yeah, we were number 4, and you could only do Bitcoin mining. And there were no auditors and no lawyers and no accountants, basically no one that you really need in order to run a public company that knew anything about Bitcoin.
And tell that funny, just on that note, sorry to interrupt. So she's exactly right. I remember Hive, the first one, was founded by a guy named Frank Holmes, and he told me a story where he was trying to convince the regulators that Bitcoin is not a tainted asset, and he couldn't get through to them. Like, he was trying to show like the proof, and it's like on chain and the block explorer, but none of that went through the regulators. And then he came up with this concept of, well, every Bitcoin that we mint is a virgin token. And he proved that there's no way any bad guy or any OFAC list person could touch it because it's provably a virgin token. And so like, it was like things like that to like just get people to understand.
Oh my God. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I also had a very crazy journey. As soon as we were taking Griffin public on NASDAQ was when the entire world decided to go bananas about the power usage of Bitcoin miners, saying that we're evil because we use more power than name your favorite country. And so we decided to launch as an 100% renewable Bitcoin mining company in order to not get so much shit from the regulators. And I spent 2.5 years working with BlackRock, RMI, and Energy Web in order to launch something called the Sustainable Bitcoin Protocol. And we launched the first standards certificate to prove that Bitcoin miners were sustainable. And we started taking first ourselves and then other big Bitcoin miners through this process so that we had on-chain data of where all the ASIC miners were plugged in, and we could actually prove that enough of the Bitcoin network was running on renewable or green energy to the point where Bitcoin in whole as an asset class could be considered ESG compatible. At the time, BlackRock had more than 70% of its funds that were ESG mandated. And so BlackRock was not allowed to invest in any Bitcoin touching companies, meaning if you had any Bitcoin in your company at all, let alone being a Bitcoin production company, then you couldn't get any money from any of the assets that were managed by BlackRock and most of the other big asset managers. So it was, I think, June 2023 or 2024 that we launched this publicly. And once we put out all of the certificates and we had enough hash power of the Bitcoin network represented within this certificate, BlackRock was able to start deploying funds into Bitcoin companies.
And even Tesla couldn't accept it. They were like mandated through these.
Exactly. Elon said we want data for at least 51% of the network. And so we went out to go produce that data, and we had to go through insane lengths to do something like that when all we wanted to do was take a Bitcoin company public. And it was, it was beyond. I never really expected to have to go that far. But we went that far, and obviously that has, been a great impact throughout the industry.
Yeah, I mean, with the time left, Trevor, do you want to speak on Sapien and how you're affecting the future?
Yeah, so as Polymath was kind of going to slowly towards the public markets, we brought in a great management team, and I got excited about a new problem, which was the convergence of AI and crypto. Although I'll say the real inspiration behind it was finding my co-founder, a guy named Rowan Stone. He's the co-creator of Base. So his last company was acquired by Coinbase, and then Brian kind of commissioned him to build an L2 within Coinbase. And yeah, we were just both super curious and super excited about AI. We found a particular problem around data and the production of data and how current like Web 2 companies in centralized forms produce data. Like there's a lot of human produced data that kind of separates the medium models to the really good ones. And so we saw an opportunity to kind of use our entire career's learnings about how in certain cases decentralization is superior in many ways. And we built kind of a new concept of how humans all around the world can produce data as kind of a job, as kind of like a gig work. And we can use Web3 rails like stablecoin payments. We can use incentives. We call it proof of quality to ensure that they're doing good work. And so instead of having these like huge data farms in the Philippines, which is how a lot of the data is produced now, people can just do it from their phone on the blockchain. And yeah, we've been around for about 2 years. We just launched a few weeks ago, and we've been having a lot of fun.
And is that something that, with our tools and our libraries, is something we can easily plug into the API? Is it docs are all formatted?
Yeah, so think just to zoom out a bit, any model like ChatGPT is really 2 or 3 things. It's compute, that's how you train. It's the data, that's what you train and run inference on. And then it's the algorithms. And so we really saw data as the bottleneck. That's where people, like if you have money, you have compute. That's the definition of a commodity. And so data is how people have an edge. And whether that data is your own data, whether it's access to somebody else's data, that's how you kind of compete. And right now, the problem is all of these big lab companies like Gemini, OpenAI, Mistral, all these Claude, they're all training on the same open internet data. So the internet is a great repository of data that you can train on, but everybody has access to that. So the next phase of model improvement is coming from proprietary data sets. I use the example of like a JP Morgan who has a lot of data, but they're never going to let OpenAI touch it because they're jeopardizing their entire business. They're literally a service business, that's investment banking, and they do other things. But data is their last hurrah. Like that's the only way they can justify their existence in the long term. So they're not going to license their data to OpenAI and others. But other companies might. So we're seeing deals happen like Reddit, for example, is licensing its data to OpenAI. I think it's like 50 or 60 million a quarter. And so it's kind of interesting. We're seeing new business models emerge. In terms of Sapien, my current company, we're helping companies, especially enterprise companies. So we work with Fortune 100s like Alibaba, Midjourney, Workday. These are all public, US listed companies that are trying to build their own models because they're scared. They're getting attacked from above. So OpenAI is disrupting them. And then from below, so if you look at where I spent a lot of time in San Francisco, there's a lot of startups coming out that are just vertical models. They're not ChatGPT, but they're really good at one thing, like law. So Harvey is an example. It was the first kind of at scale vertical model that is like ChatGPT, but for law. And even though ChatGPT is really good, they're solely obsessed with just that one vertical. So anyways, all of these big enterprise companies now are scrambling to build their own models on their own data. And we kind of help those companies do that at scale.
And could we see potentially a collaboration between Sapien and Telegram or a corporation like Alphaton Capital building those models together?
As a proud investor, I hope so. I think it's funny because Telegram, we either have or we're in the process of building a mini app for the Ton ecosystem. And so that's one obvious example is that, hey, instead of like downloading the Sapien app to label data, you could just like open your Telegram app and it's a mini app within that ecosystem. So that's one example.
Yeah, I mean, we're so excited. I think every day this week we've announced the new mini app that we are either acquiring or launching. We've only been public for less than a week. So watch this space for a lot of other very, very exciting announcements that we have. I think obviously any Telegram mini apps that are about good and ethically sourced data, we're going to get behind really in a big way. And in general, as I mentioned in the beginning of this, we're very, very focused on DeFi gaming and then any other true business application, because there are so many businesses, even governments, that are now running all of their messaging communications on Telegram. That is just onboarding those 1 billion users into the mini apps that are on Ton, where we can really reach the 1 billion crypto users for real. And I know all of us that have been in the industry for a long time, I've been here for nearly 15 years, started Bitcoin mining in 2011. So to think that there could be 1 billion users sometime soon, because an app like Telegram that already has 1 billion users is vertically integrated digital assets. I mean, the dream's coming true, guys.
We finally made it. Everybody in this room has worked very, very hard. And I can't be happy enough to call you my friends and my colleagues. And, give yourselves a round of applause. You've been working really hard. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Brittany, for your time. And that's
Thank you, Logan.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, DNA.
And thank you, DNA.
Thank you, DNA. Round of applause for DNA.